There's only one way to start today's video. I can't lie, it does feel a little bit dirty to be celebrating qualifying for the Champions League when we got it in the way that we did. Losing at home to Everton and then having Man United or PGMOL, whichever way you want to look at it, having them have to hand it to us in that way. It doesn't feel great. But you know what? Say we don't deserve Champions League as much as you want because we still deserve it more than Spurs. So as far as I'm concerned, let the party continue. And as for the refereeing in the Man United game, there's more on that later on. And on a personal note, I had the day from hell yesterday, which is why there is no match reaction footage. Instead of giving you the match reaction footage, I'll give you what happened instead of match reaction footage. So that will also be later in the video, why there's no match reaction footage. Now, I did say last week after the loss to Arsenal for everyone to stop digging out the players. But then I did also say, if we lost to Everton, feel free, go after them. But changed my mind on that one. Like, it's still not okay to be digging out the players and trying to sell them, so let's just stop doing that, okay? I kind of said that last week more in jest because I didn't really think that we were going to lose to Everton, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, we've already heard from Eddie that the players just didn't handle the occasion well. They almost wanted to win too much. So anyone on social media saying that their attitude wasn't there, I don't think it's necessarily the attitude wasn't there or the desire wasn't there. They just didn't handle the emotions of the day very well. But I don't really see how getting on their backs now that we've qualified for Champions League, I don't see how getting on their backs helps anyone going forward. Like 100%, it was a fucking awful result and a bit of an embarrassing way to get Champions League, losing 1-0 at home to a depleted Everton side. But it also is still the same group of players that put together 20 wins in like 28 games, I think it was. A run that ultimately won us a trophy and put us in them positions to be getting Champions League in the first place. At the end of the day, it is the best season that most of us have had in our lifetimes as Newcastle fans. All off the back of PSR holding us back, no first team signings for 3 windows, having to sell key squad players, again just to navigate through the PSR bullshit, and a load of massive injuries. I think overall, the squad have done us really proud, so I think we should just leave the negativity behind because all them things I just mentioned there, none of them are actually holding us back going forward. We finished in a position where all of our players that are currently injured are likely to have recovered for the start of next season. We didn't have that luxury going into the start of this season. At the start of this season, we had Tonali out, obviously not an injury, but we still had Tonali out. Both Botman and Lascelles injuries carried on from the end of last season into this season. It's been a long time now since the start of the season, so I can't actually remember everyone that was injured. I think Barnes might have been, Willock potentially, Wilson probably. All I remember is we went into the start of this season with a load of players still injured from last season or still not available for selection. Whereas now, next season, we will have all of our available players, provided nothing drastically bad happens over the preseason. And that's not even taking into account the fact that we're not in the fucking PSR nightmare anymore. As I said, we haven't been able to strengthen the team for 3 windows now, but we've navigated through that. And now it looks very much, it's been reported that we could be potentially about to spend 200, 300 million. There was reports coming out of the club the other day that we're ready to break our transfer record again. So if we can qualify for Champions League, admittedly, luckily, and also win a trophy this season, imagine what we can do with all our players fit at the start of the season, 3 or 4 new signings. I mean, overall, over the past 3 or 4 years, we've just been on a constant trajectory upwards. We might have had a little bit of a blip last season, but overall, it's an upward trajectory. And we've managed to stay on that upward trajectory without having to do kind of what Villa have had to do and sell loads of key players. Granted, nobody wanted Anderson and Minter to go, but it is still good business regardless. And in terms of getting us out that PSR hole that we were in, it was an absolute masterclass, really. And as good as that business was, that doesn't even touch on how good the business was with Lloyd Kelly. Signing him on a free, comes in, plays 3 or 4 times for us, plays absolutely shite most of the times he plays for us, and then 6 months later, agreeing a deal for him to be sold for about 20, 25 million. I don't know who's responsible for that deal. Everyone seems to think it's Paul Mitchell. If it is Paul Mitchell, get that fucking man to Hogwarts because he's a wizard. So yeah, exciting times ahead. We've kept all our best players. We're going to strengthen. And I know we just lost 2 games, but let's not criticize any of the players or be selling anyone. Gordon doesn't need to be fucking sold. If he goes because he wants to go to Liverpool, it's his boyhood club at the end of the day, then he goes. But otherwise, I think he's going to stay, and I think he'll be fucking class next season. Now, on to a quick review of our game. So the only things I've got we were shit. Pickford is still a T-Rex. He did actually play really well. Of course he fucking did. Imagine how good of a goalkeeper he'd be if he actually had normal length arms. But actually, speaking of goalkeepers with normal length arms, the one positive I took from the game, Pope was class. Made loads of unreal saves, which, to be honest, more than anything just highlights how shit we were. But regardless of us being shit, that's not the important bit of information to take from that. The important bit of information to take from this game is Jordan Pickford is still a T-Rex. Now, I said I'd talk about it onto Villa's disallowed goal. So a lot of you who have watched the channel regularly have seen me going on rants about referees, VAR, all that kind of stuff multiple times already. So there's not much point in me going on another rant again because it's just going to get tiring pretty quickly. If you want to see what I think about referees and VAR, then you'll have to go back to one of them videos. But as for the Villa and Man United game and the disallowed goal in that game, my stance is exactly the same as it was for them videos. The refereeing standards in this country are awful, inconsistent, and I just don't think they deserve the ridiculous amount of money that they're paid to enforce rules that they create and yet seemingly can't remember from one week to the other what the actual rules are. So yes, to clarify, I do think the goal was wrongly disallowed for Villa. And if I'm completely honest, I do think if the goal hadn't been disallowed, we probably wouldn't have got Champions League. I know there's a lot of people been saying Man United did score 2. So if we look at it on paper, the game would have finished 2-1. But if I'm completely honest, I don't think it would have finished 2-1. I think Villa would have managed probably a draw from the game. The time that the disallowed goal happened at would have been a massive momentum shift. And realistically, because of how much we bottled it, all Villa needed from the game was a draw. And I guess any Bournemouth fans watching will probably be saying it's karma for Villa because a wrongly disallowed goal against Villa got Bournemouth relegated. I do think it's a little ironic though that Eddie Howe has gone underrated for a long time, largely because of the stain that he had on his career when Bournemouth got relegated, which I've always thought was unfair because the work that Eddie Howe did with Bournemouth, taking them from the bottom of the footballing leagues right the way up to the Premier League and holding them there for multiple seasons. Like, he had Bournemouth punching above their weight for a long time. So for it to have eventually collapsed, it's kind of to be expected, really. It's like me running alongside Usain Bolt, keeping it neck and neck for like 80 meters, and then the last 20 minutes he blitzes me. Like, of course. I think if that were to happen, I'd deserve credit for the first 80, not to have my running reputation ruined for the last 20. But yeah, in terms of the karma thing, I do think it's a little bit mental that the team that was relegated because of the wrongly disallowed goal against Villa was managed by the same team who just got the benefit because of a wrongly disallowed goal for Villa. I think what we can take from that is it's Eddie Howe's world and we're all just living in it. But yeah, once again, standards of Premier League refereeing not reflecting of the best league in the world. Absolutely no shock there. Having said that, I won't even try and lie for a second. When it happened, I was celebrating it like we'd scored a goal. Because, quite frankly, by this point, I had absolutely no hope that we were going to be the ones to secure Champions League for ourselves. So that refereeing fuck-up at that point seemed like the miracle I'd been praying for. But unfortunately, I can't give you that reaction. So let me explain why. So, up until a few days before, I thought I had tickets sorted for the game. The plans for them tickets fell through, but then I decided to chance it and drive in anyway to drive to the game, hoping that if I did manage to get tickets last minute, I'd be there at the stadium ready to go in. Now, on the way there, one of my friends needed dropping off in fucking Sunderland of all places, so I took a detour, gave them a lift, so then at this point I was sat about half an hour away from St James's Park trying to organise tickets. And just as I thought I'd organised tickets, this happened. Right, no match reaction footage, cause I'm sat in my car in Sunderland of all fucking places, cause my car has broken down and I'm now waiting for someone to come and help me move the car. So yeah, have this footage of me wanting to literally jump off a bridge instead. So yeah, no footage of my match reaction from St James's Park because by the time I did get myself going again, the tickets that I had arranged had fallen through. So instead, I just went to a mate's house and watched the game there instead. In hindsight, I'm not actually that gutted because I don't feel like I missed much. And it was probably actually nicer to be sat watching all of the games on all the different screens and knowing exactly what was going on in the Man United Villa game, Chelsea Forest game as well. But yeah, that's the story of why there's no match reaction footage for this game. But match reaction footage will be returning for pre-season. And speaking of pre-season, the giveaway will now be rolling over into pre-season, because obviously nobody predicted 1-0 Alcaraz first goal scorer. So that means the giveaway was at £50. So the next giveaway will now be at least £50 in value. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to give yourself the best chance of winning. And if I can think of a cool way to incorporate it into a video before the pre-season fixtures, then I'll do it before then. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.